Logan Cross ran through the thick jungle of Velmara, his boots sinking into the damp earth, his rifle clutched tightly in his hands. The air was heavy with heat and the strange scent of alien plants, clinging to his skin like a second layer. Vines brushed his face, and unseen insects buzzed around him. But he didn't slow down. Sweat trickled down his back, and his breathing grew harder with each step. He kept moving. Earth was counting on him. Deep beneath the surface of this dangerous planet was a rare crystal that could save his dying home. Logan had been in battles, faced death, and survived storms of fire. But none of that felt as frightening as this mission. Every rustle in the trees made his pulse race. Then suddenly, the sound wasn't just leaves. Something rushed toward him. Logan dropped into a crouch, raising his weapon, heart pounding. Before he could fire, a blur of color slammed into him with such force that he crashed onto the forest floor. His rifle flew from his grip, landing far out of reach. He gasped, dazed, blinking up at the figure that had knocked him over. His vision cleared, and he froze. Hovering above him was a girl. No, not human. Her skin was a glowing blue, and her golden eyes were wide with fear. Her features were soft, delicate, almost like a painting come to life. She trembled, her breath coming fast. "Please," she begged, her voice melodic but shaking. "You have to help me. It's coming." Logan didn't know what she meant, but instinct told him it was bad. A deep roar thundered through the jungle, so loud the ground beneath him vibrated. Trees cracked and bent as something massive forced its way through. Logan shoved the girl aside and rolled to his feet, spotting his rifle. He ran to it, grabbed it, and turned just as the beast broke into the clearing. It was enormous, twice the height of a man, with jaws packed with rows of sharp teeth, claws the size of blades, and eyes filled with rage. The creature roared again, its focus on the girl. Logan stepped between them. "Hey, ugly!" he shouted, pulling the trigger. A flash of plasma shot forward, hitting the beast in the shoulder. It roared but kept coming. Logan barely dodged a swipe of its claws, rolling to the side. Heat from its breath swept over him as he scrambled back. "No!" the girl cried. "Look out!" Logan turned and aimed just in time. The beast lunged at him, mouth open. He fired into its face. The blast exploded through the back of its skull, and the creature collapsed in a heap, the earth shaking beneath its weight. Logan stood over the body, chest heaving. His arms trembled, and his head pounded. Slowly he turned to the girl. She stared at him, her golden eyes filled with wonder. "You saved me," she whispered. He gave her a weak smile. Just another day on the job. Logan Cross, soldier from Earth. Her lips curved into a smile that made something stir in his chest. "I am Liara," she said, bowing slightly. "Daughter of the High Luminary. Welcome to Velmara. You must come with me to my village. There's so much to talk about." As she reached for his hand and led him through the glowing jungle, Logan glanced around, uneasy but curious. Something told him his mission had just changed. Not just about the crystal, not just about Earth, but about her. And deep inside, he knew there was no turning back. Logan followed Liara through the glowing jungle, his boots sinking into the soft ground, his mind still spinning from everything that had happened. The girl moved with grace, guiding him through paths he wouldn't have seen on his own. As they walked, the trees began to thin, and a soft light appeared ahead. They stepped out into a breathtaking sight. The village of Velmara rose before him like something from a dream. The buildings, shimmered in colors he couldn't name, made from crystals that caught the light of the twin suns above. They pulsed with energy, like they were alive. Strange creatures moved through the streets, and tall, elegant people with glowing skin turned to stare at him. Logan stiffened as their eyes followed his every step. He was used to being the outsider in dangerous places, but this felt different. There was no hate in their looks, only curiosity, and something heavier. Liara touched his arm gently. "They've never seen someone like you before," she said softly. "It's all right. They won't harm you." Her voice calmed him more than he wanted to admit. Still, he stayed alert, scanning everything. He had come for a mission, not to make friends. "Where are we going?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "To see my father," she replied. "He must hear about the creature, and about you." Logan nodded, but his stomach twisted. Meeting alien leaders wasn't part of the plan. They reached the largest structure at the center of the village, a spire that looked like it had grown straight from the earth. The walls glowed with shifting colors, and vines wrapped around it like veins. Inside it was cool and dim, the walls pulsing with slow, steady light. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat a figure cloaked in woven light, his skin the same glowing blue as Liara's. His eyes, deep amber, locked onto Logan as they entered. "Daughter," the figure said, his voice like thunder in a cave. "Who is this outsider you bring to our home?" Liara stepped forward, bowing low. "This is Logan Cross, father. He saved me in the jungle from the beast. He risked his life for mine." The High Luminary stared at Logan for a long moment. "Is this true, stranger? You would risk death for someone not of your kind?" Logan straightened his back and met the man's eyes. "Yes, I did what I had to do. I wasn't going to let her die." Silence filled the room for a moment. Then the High Luminary rose from his seat. "Then you have earned a great honor among our people. Our law is clear. A life saved binds two fates. You must take Liara's hand in union. It is the way we repay such a debt." Logan's heart nearly stopped. Marriage? That couldn't be right. He looked at Liara. She didn't speak, but her eyes said everything. Hope, fear, something more. I can't," he said, his voice tight. "My people need me. I have to return to Earth. I came here for something vital, something that could save millions of lives." The High Luminary's expression darkened. "Our law is not a choice. The bond must be honored." Logan shook his head slowly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend, but I have to finish what I started." He turned to leave, his chest heavy. Behind him, Liara took a step forward. "Logan, please, don't go, not like this." But he didn't stop. As he stepped back into the sunlight, he knew he'd made the only choice he could. Still, a strange pain followed him, stronger than any wound. He had saved her life, and now he was walking away from it. Logan moved quickly through the jungle, his heart pounding and his thoughts in chaos. The thick branches slapped against his face, and roots grabbed at his feet, but he didn't stop. Sweat poured down his neck, and every breath felt like fire. He wasn't just running from the village. He was running from what he had left behind. Liara's voice echoed in his head, her plea still fresh in his mind. She had asked him to stay, begged him not to go, and he had walked away. He hadn't wanted to hurt her. In fact, he had wanted to do the opposite. But Earth needed him, and that mission had to come first. He tried to stay focused, but his chest ached from more than just the effort. Suddenly, a sound pierced the jungle, a low, chilling growl. Logan froze and slowly raised his weapon, eyes scanning the shadows. He wasn't alone. Branches snapped around him, and his gut tightened. Then from all sides, creatures appeared. More of the monsters from before, but this time there were more of them. Their eyes glowed with hunger, their fangs gleamed, and their claws tore at the ground. Logan's grip tightened on his rifle. He backed away, trying to count them, but there were too many. One lunged, and he fired, the plasma burning into its chest, but the others didn't stop. They moved fast, circling him, slashing at his arms and legs. He cried out, falling to his knees as pain exploded in his shoulder. He fired again, and another one dropped, but they kept coming. It felt like the end. Then, through the chaos, a bright light flashed. A staff spun through the air, striking one of the creatures and sending it flying. Logan looked up in shock. As Liara stepped into the clearing, her face fierce, her body moving with sharp, graceful power. She fought like she had trained her whole life for this moment. The creatures turned on her, but she didn't flinch. Her staff cracked bones and sent sparks flying. Logan pushed himself to his feet and started firing again. Together, they fought back, their movements almost in rhythm, like they had fought beside each other for years. Slowly, the monsters fell one by one, until only silence remained. Logan dropped to his knees, gasping for air. Blood stained his shirt, but he was alive. He turned to Liara, who stood above him, panting, her staff still glowing faintly. "You came back," he said, his voice rough. "Why?" She looked at him, her golden eyes soft now, filled with something deeper. "Because I care about you," she said gently. "I couldn't let you die out here. Not like this." Logan stared at her, words caught in his throat. He had never heard someone speak to him like that. He wanted to say something, to tell her how much that meant, but before he could, a deep sound rolled through the trees. A steady thump-thump like a giant heartbeat. Liara's face went pale. "No," she whispered. "It's the Queen." Logan's brows pulled together. "The Queen?" he asked, already lifting his rifle. "The mother of the beasts," she answered, her voice shaking. "She's coming." Logan followed her gaze, and his breath caught. A massive shape was rising beyond the trees, taller than anything he had seen. It moved with terrible strength, its growl rattling the air. Logan felt fear claw at his chest, but beside him, Liara reached out and took his hand. "Together," she said, her grip firm. Logan nodded, the warmth of her touch steadying his mind. He had started this journey alone, driven by duty, but now he wasn't alone. Not anymore. Logan and Liara ran through the thick jungle, their steps fast and urgent, the thunder of the Queen's roars shaking the trees behind them. Logan's heart thudded in his chest, and his arms ached from the earlier fight, but he didn't. Slow down. The Queen was getting closer, and they needed a plan. "We can't fight her directly," Liara said, her breath coming fast. "She's too powerful." Logan nodded, eyes sharp as they moved between glowing vines and strange roots. "Then we need something else, an edge." Suddenly, a memory struck him like lightning. "The crystal," he said. "The one I came here to find. It's rare, and your people said it has power. Could it hurt the Queen?" Liara stopped short, her eyes wide. "Yes," she breathed. "There's a legend about it. It can drain the life from living creatures. But it's deep in the forest. Not many dare to go there." Logan didn't hesitate. "Then that's where we go." Without another word, they turned and headed deeper into the jungle, each step taking them into darker, quieter territory. Strange lights glowed around them, and odd creatures slithered through the undergrowth, but nothing attacked. Even the jungle seemed to know the danger that was coming. The sound of the Queen's roars still echoed in the distance, but it was softer now, like she was watching, waiting. Finally, Liara came to a stop and pointed. "There," she whispered. At the base of a large, twisted tree, a shimmering crystal vein ran along the roots. It glowed with soft colors, shifting and pulsing like a living heart. Logan approached slowly, his eyes wide. He reached out and touched it. The moment his fingers met the surface, a bolt of energy shot through him. His breath caught in his throat, and every hair on his body stood up. It felt like power itself had entered his blood. "It's incredible," he said, his voice low with wonder. "It's more than I imagined." Liara stepped beside him, her own eyes shining. "It's called the Heartstone," she said. "It holds the energy of our world, but it's dangerous. If not handled carefully, it can destroy as easily as it protects." Together, they worked quickly. Logan used the sharp edge of his broken rifle to cut a shard of the crystal free. It was small, barely larger than his palm, but it pulsed with power. As he held it, it cast a strange light across his face, glowing brighter with every beat of his heart. "Now what?" he asked, his muscles tensed. Liara looked toward the jungle. "Now we face the Queen." With the shard in one hand and his rifle in the other, Logan nodded. "Then let's finish this." They turned back toward the roars and shaking ground, moving faster now. They had a weapon. They had a chance. As they stepped through the last line of trees and into a wide clearing, the Queen appeared before them. She was massive, her skin thick and rough, her mouth lined with sharp teeth. Her eyes burned with fury as she saw them. The ground cracked under her feet. Logan raised the crystal. Its light pulsed like a heartbeat. He could feel its energy building. "Come on!" he shouted. "We're not afraid of you!" The Queen bellowed and began to charge. Logan and Liara split, circling her from opposite sides, their bodies moving as one. The final fight had begun, and they had only one chance to survive. The Queen charged forward with terrifying speed, her claws tearing through the earth, her massive body shaking the ground with every step. Logan moved to the right while Liara darted left, their movements quick and sharp. The jungle clearing seemed to shrink around them as the towering beast closed the distance, her eyes fixed on Liara with a hungry glare. Logan fired bolt after bolt from his rifle, the blue plasma blasts hitting the Queen's thick hide and leaving scorch marks, but she barely flinched. Her focus stayed locked on Liara. Liara moved like light, spinning and twisting away from each swipe of the Queen's claws, her staff glowing bright as she struck at weak points in the creature's legs and underbelly. Still, it wasn't enough. The Queen roared, her rage growing, her mouth dripping with venom. Logan could see she was about to lunge straight for Liara. Panic hit him like a punch to the chest, but he didn't hesitate. He sprinted forward, the glowing crystal shard gripped tightly in his hand. With a cry that came from deep inside him, he leapt through the air and slammed the shard straight into the Queen's eye. The crystal flared to life, pulsing brighter than ever before. The Queen let out a deafening shriek, thrashing wildly. Logan fell to the ground and rolled away, just as the beast reared back, her entire body trembling. A strange light spread through her veins, turning them into glowing lines beneath her thick skin. She shook her head, howled again, and then began to stumble. Her limbs weakened, her movement slowed. The crystal was doing its work, draining the life force from her giant body. Liara rushed to Logan's side and helped him up. Together, they watched as the Queen staggered once more, then let out one final gurgling roar before collapsing in the dirt. The ground shook under her weight, and then all was silent. The jungle once filled with sounds of chaos, was now still. Birds and insects remained quiet, as if honoring the end of the beast's rule. Logan stood there, chest rising and falling, covered in sweat and dirt, his arm bleeding from where the creature had grazed him. He couldn't believe it. They had done it. They had actually defeated the queen. He turned to Liara, his voice rough and full of emotion. "It's over," he said. "We did it." Liara smiled, her eyes filled with light. "Together," she whispered, reaching out to take his hand. Logan felt her fingers wrap around his, warm and steady. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They simply stood in the clearing, hand in hand, surrounded by the ruins of the battle and the quiet breath of the jungle. Logan didn't know what would come next, how they would get the crystal back to Earth, or what kind of future they could build. But he knew one thing with complete certainty. He wasn't alone anymore. Liara was with him, and their bond was stronger than any fear. He had come to Velmara to save his world, but he had found something even more powerful. Not just a crystal, not just a victory, but a love that had survived monsters, tradition, and war. And now, standing in the silence after the storm, Logan Cross knew they were ready to face whatever came next. Together. Logan and Liara returned to the village of Velmara with slow, steady steps, their bodies sore from battle but their hearts filled with something brighter than pain. Hope. As they stepped through the crystal archways, the people of the village gathered, their eyes wide with amazement. Word of the Queen's defeat had spread like fire, and now Logan and Liara were no longer strangers or outcasts, they were heroes. The High Luminary stood waiting at the center of the plaza, his robe glowing softly under the twin suns. His gaze rested first on Liara, then on Logan, filled with deep pride and respect. "Logan Cross," he said, his voice strong and clear, "you have done what many believed was impossible. You saved not only my daughter, but our entire world. We owe you everything." Logan stepped forward, his hands at his sides, his eyes calm. "Thank you, sir," he said simply. "But I didn't do it alone. Liara was there every step of the way. I owe her just as much." The crowd murmured in agreement, many nodding. Liara looked at him, her hand brushing his, and he squeezed it gently. The High Luminary's eyes softened. "And what of the bond?" he asked. "Do you still turn away from our ways?" Logan looked at Liara, then turned back to the elder. "No," he said, his voice firm. "I've come to understand your traditions. I know what Liara means to your people, and to me. I'm ready to stand by her side, not just as her protector, but as her partner, if she'll have me." Liara's breath caught in her throat, and her eyes shimmered with tears. "Yes, Logan," she whispered. "I choose you." The crowd erupted into cheers, voices rising into the sky. The High Luminary stepped forward and placed his hand on Logan's shoulder. "Then let this be a union not just of hearts, but of worlds. Let it be known that Velmara and Earth are now connected, by something greater than trade or war, by love." Logan smiled, but then his face grew serious. "There's something else," he said. "The crystal we used to defeat the Queen. It's the same mineral my people need to survive. I came here to find it and bring it back to Earth. That mission still matters." The High Luminary nodded. "And you shall have it." "Shall. As a gift of peace, and as your wedding gift, we will share the crystal with your world." Logan bowed his head, deeply moved. "Thank you. This will save lives. More than you know." But then the elder raised a hand again. "There is one More part of our tradition, he said gently. To seal the bond, it must be made whole. You must create new life. A child, born of both our worlds. Logan turned to Liara, who blushed, her blue skin deepening in color. Her eyes met his with warmth and courage. Do you want this? He asked softly. To build something together? Liara nodded, stepping closer. With all my heart. In the days that followed, the village prepared a great celebration. Logan and Liara explored the quiet moments between the noise, finding comfort in each other's arms. Their love grew deeper, stronger, more real. When the time came, they left Velmara together, the crystal packed safely, their hands joined as they boarded the ship. Liara looked back at her home, then at Logan. Wherever you go, I will follow. Logan kissed her hand and smiled. And wherever we go as one. As the stars stretched out before them, they began the journey not just toward Earth, but toward a future where two worlds would thrive, united by love, and the courage it took to find it.